Welcome to the TV and movie review show. Bring you a review on the latest TV shows and movies. So let's jump into it. Hope you enjoy the show.
Hello everyone, I'm Jazzy929. Welcome to the show. Today I'm going to be reviewing Power Book 3, Episode 9, titled Loyal to the End. I have to say this was another amazing episode. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it.
If I do this to you, I get a pass, detective. I'm not gonna lie to you no more, Kanan. You deserve the truth.
You're in danger. All you police saw.
Why are you telling me?
Just don't want nobody else to get hurt.
What's next?
Revolution.
What can I say, you guys? This week was nothing but fire. We've seen at the beginning of this episode, Unique decides to take his son to the movie theater, and as he is buckling his son in, we see Marvin come from nowhere, and he shoots up the car. The only thing that actually saves Unique was the fact that the car was bulletproof. I would love to know why Unique thought everything was sweet and was so comfortable out there with his son after he went ahead and ambushed Lulu the way he did. He knew they was going to end up retaliating, so I don't understand why he was so comfortable. Now, you guys, I have to be truthful with you. I am not a big fan of Jessica's character. We see in the next scene that Raquel is at the hospital. Jessica's there waiting for Lulu to wake up. Raquel basically tells Jessica, go ahead on about your business, go home, get dressed, get some rest, or whatever it may be. She sits there as far as Raquel. She sits there and she tells Lou, look, they must have forgot who I am, where I come from, and they're about to remember. She's about to bring the heat on Unique, everybody. As she is doing so, she gets a knock on the door, and it's Sympathy. He takes her to the hallway. They have a conversation. She basically tells him, look, everything we had was all good, but you're going to find a college girl later on, and she will jump your bones and you'll forget all about me. He basically got mad at Raquel and told Raquel, fuck her, and then he went ahead and walked off. Before he left, he told her to tell Marvin that Tony was not to be trusted. Marvin was ruthless this whole episode. He went ahead and took out his partner, and before he did, the partner tried to talk his way out of it by telling him that Kanan wouldn't be faded by the time that he would get because he was so young. But Marvin had to clean up his loose ends. Detective Howard was a guardian angel for Lulu in this episode. He was outside smoking a cigarette. As he is doing so, he sees two of Unique's guys approached by a employer at the hospital, and she hands them some clothing and two badges so they can go ahead and get into the hospital and take out Lulu, and probably Raquel if it went through, but Lulu was their intended target. But like I said, Howard stopped that and they got arrested, so that was good. And they give us Nicole's mother saying she wants justice for the death of her daughter. She is blaming Jukebox. Burke basically tells her, like, look, I only knew that your daughter died of an overdose. That's what it was ruled as. But they fail to realize that her daughter went out and tried to experiment with drugs. She got the bag into the stick and ended up dead. At the end of the day, it's nobody's fault except hers. No one put a gun up to her head and no one told her to take it. He also reminds Burke that she comes from a powerful family. See, the father is not with this at all, as he tells his wife that they are not sure what exactly happened to their daughter. You guys, Detective Howard should have been careful what he asked for, because in this episode, as he's at the hospital with Raquel, he basically drills her about getting with Kanan. I need to get with Kanan, he basically says, and this boy needs to basically know that I'm his father. And he wasn't going to have it any other way. Now, he knows Raquel very well. He should have known that if he pushed her back against the wall, then nothing good would come from it. Now, after that scene, they give us Jukebox standing in front of Nicole's tombstone, and she's just looking at the letter Nicole had left her. During this time, we see Detective Burke pulls up, and she basically tells her, look, I used to have a relationship with a female too, and I lost her, and I was so sad when I lost her. She was basically trying to start a conversation to get information from Jukebox, but Jukebox was not having it. Everything seemed cool at first until she started asking questions about D-Wiz and the Blue Tops. Then Jukebox was like, I ain't having it. I ain't on this. I'm out. And at this time, Kanan really doesn't realize what's going on in front of his eyes. He does not know that they are in the middle of the war. See, Kanan comes into the hospital, asking what happened. Why did they change Lulu's room? And his mom basically tells him, like, look, these dudes came up here to kill your uncle. And then Kanan sits there like he's shocked. I don't know what's going on with Kanan, but he better wake up and wake up real quick. Marvin decides to meet Raquel in the chapel of the hospital, and during that time, he basically tells her that he took care of little Rob, and not just that, he doesn't work for her anymore, so he is not going to be taking her orders. He explains to her that she gets roses for the job that she does. She actually peeps out things before he does. His senses is not as good as hers. She runs things very well. But she needs to realize that he's a grown man, not just a grown man, but her big brother. And since they was younger, he raised her a Lulu because their parents was out there on drugs or whatnot. He is basically telling her, look, everything you're saying is good and whatnot, but I need to get that get back on Unique. Raquel tells him that she needs him and she's willing to die for him if it comes down to it, as he's willing to die for her also. By the end of this scene, they realize that family is all they got. Marvin asks what the next step is, and she tells him it's revolution. Jukebox decides to tell Raquel about her meeting with Detective Burke, and she tells her that basically Detective Burke has been hounding her, asking her questions, and Raquel asks her, why is it that she keeps coming for you? Jukebox reassures her that everything is good, it's basically nothing, and Raquel tells her, look, in some situations a police officer could be useful. Raquel tells Marvin to give Kanan his first piece so he could get to work. During that time, Kanan expresses that when he gets on those streets, he don't want to be having old school music in his head, and he needs something that get him turned up. So Marvin goes to the room as far as Jukebox room and tries to find a tune to get Kanan in the right mind state he needs to be in. During this time, he's looking around all through her things, and he finds a picture of her and Nicole in the booth together kissing. He also finds the tape of them singing. He gets interrupted by Kanan coming in telling him he's headed out. Burke decides to tell Detective Howard that she is not going to let up on Kanan, and he tells her, if you don't want to let up on Kanan like I told you to, then I do not want to be your partner any longer. Now let me jump into what all of y'all came here for. I'm pretty sure because it's all over the internet. This incident that happened between Jukebox and her father. Now you guys, before I move forward, I want you to know that I'm going to share my personal opinion on this situation. I do not want anyone to take it the wrong way, but it is what it is. So Marvin is sitting there in Jukebox's room. She walks in. He goes to ask her if she is gay, is she messing around with girls, what is she basically, and then he tells her, you must have got this from your mom's side of the family. Her whole family over there is jacked up, and that's where you got this from. He asks Jukebox who Nicole is and where she came from. Jukebox goes on to tell Marvin that Nicole is dead. Marvin basically then tells her that that is what Nicole deserved due to the fact that she was doing wrong in God's eyes. Jukebox then asks Marvin, then what does that say for you and God? Because you are nothing but a violation. Now at this time, Jukebox is really feeling herself because she's calling her dad by his government name. And then she loses her mind and spits in Marvin's face. And right then and there, that's when all hell broke loose. Marvin smacks the shit up out of Juke. Then he tears apart the movie that she had with Nicole, and that sets her off. She attacks her father. They are going back and forth. She is throwing things at him. She hits him a couple times. He gets her against the wall and chokes her to the point where she was about to meet her maker. He then told her, just because you act like a nigga don't mean you could fight like a nigga. Then he continues to choke her until he realizes that her dying by his hands is not what he wants. He then breaks down and tries to talk to Jukebox, but she walks up out of the room without saying anything to him. During this time, you can see the numbness all over her face. I do believe that Marvin was wrong for antagonizing this situation the way he did. He was wrong for that. But at the same time, Jukebox comes from a household that she knows the rules. One thing you do not do is spit in anybody's face, not thinking that someone's going to retaliate. We are talking about Marvin. She knows how her dad gets down. I know she's seen this coming, so I have no clue why she actually did it. I mean, I'm pretty sure she comes from a household where she has heard someone say that I am your parent, I brought you into this world, I will take you out. In my personal opinion, I feel like if a child is froggy enough to leap at its parent, then there is repercussions and consequences behind it. I do feel as if that relationship will never be the same, but she brought that on herself by spitting in that man's face. Now I will move on to the part where Raquel decides to take Kanan out for target practice. During that time, she has a heart-to-heart with him. She tells him that if he's going to shoot someone, do it with a Glock, hit him in the head where they may think and twice in her heart. And she tells him there's a job for him to do, and that's to save the family. And he tells her that he is down for it and he's going to make it do what it do. Raquel asks Kanan to put a man on his back for her, and Kanan looks shocked as he listens to her say this, but we are talking about Raquel. He knows she's a savage. Unique is at the end of his peak. He rounds up some crews from out of town and he lets them know it's game time. Everybody got to go. During this time, Lulu wakes up with Jessica by his side. She asks him, is there anything that he wants? She goes and gets a doctor. Now, Lulu wants to know what the hell is going on and where everybody is. Jukebox decides to go ahead and tell Detective Burke that she needs to be looking out for Unique because he's going to do something to her and the rest of the police officers. We all know that Raquel sent her to do this. Then we find Raquel at a church and she bumps into her mother. And her mother asks her, look, what are you doing here? What is going on? A burning bush did not send you here. I haven't seen you in church in a year. Raquel tells her, look, have you ever thought why I am the way I am, how I ended up the way I am? And her mom basically tells her, look, you're grown. You ended up the way you are because you wanted to. It has nothing to do with me. Do not put that mess on me. She basically tells Raquel, look, I ain't your problem. You are. I did not see this coming. When I was watching this episode, it blew me away. We have a scene with Raquel and her mom, and this relationship is shattered. And it's very clear that there will be no healing between the two of them. That only leads me to question what Raquel's mother has actually done to Raquel. So Marvin decides to meet a man in the alley and he passes him a gun. I don't know what this is about, but I'm pretty sure it's a part of Raquel's plan. By the end of this episode, Kanan follows his mother's instructions. He heads to the park. He puts on Unique's coat when he gets there. He approaches the man that he is supposed to put down. When the man turns around, he discovers that it is Detective Howard. He is stunned by this. Detective Howard then tells him, I've been waiting all day trying to figure out how I was going to tell you this. Then Kanan pulls out a gun. Detective Howard tells him this is not what you want to do. And he tells him that Raquel set this up. She is setting Kanan up. Then Kanan actually shoots Detective Howard. Detective Howard then falls to the ground as Kanan walks towards him, looks him in his eyes, and we hear a second shot as the show ends. Hey, you guys! If you would like to support this podcast, please head on over to Jazzy929creations.com. There you will find a link to the shop. You could go ahead and purchase an item. I will appreciate it highly. And you can find a little bit of everything for you and your family there. This will help this podcast grow. Now let's go ahead and jump into my thoughts and theories for the next episode. I do believe that we will be seeing Scrappy in the next episode. Raquel's plan will move forward. Marvin will take the coat of Unique's and plant it in his apartment, and he will be arrested for the shooting of Detective Howard. Now you all know that Detective Howard is not dead. He is still alive. He will be in season 2. A couple of things I can't get off of my mind is I wonder if we'll see Davina again. Will the Thomas family get revenge on Davina, also Tony, for plotting against them? Will Detective Howard actually get the bone marrow he needs from Kanan? Will Kanan even find out that he's his father? I actually believe that Kanan does know. I think that during the time that he was on the ground, he did have time to tell Kanan that he was his father. Or even Kanan sensed it during the season by the way him, as far as Detective Howard and his mother, kept acting towards the situation. I do think that the hoodie that Kanan had on in this episode was a nod to the movie Juice and to Tupac Shakur. He did have the same hoodie on in the movie Juice. Now, if you would like to know more about this podcast and more, please look into the detailed part of this episode, and there you will find it. Well, that's all I have for the review this week. I hope you all join me next week for my next review. Thank you all for tuning in.
Hi, Loyal.